Welcome back to Six Survival Diaries. As you all know, it's Velvet. Before we begin, I'd like to address a sensitive topic involving sexual assault. Viewer discretion is advised. Anyway, this episode is called He Was Supposed to Give Me a Ride. Now, this happened in 1995, 30 years ago, and honestly, I still remember it like it wasn't even that long ago. People like to think time softens things, like enough years pass and everything fades into the background. But some moments don't fade. They stay exactly where they happened. And that day stayed with me. I made it home. But that's not really where this story ends. Because even though I got away, even though I survived, it didn't change me the way it probably should have. Not yet. I was young, too trusting. The kind of young where you don't question adults because you just assume they're safe. And back then, that's exactly how I saw the world. I needed to go register for school. Just a regular day. And when a friend's mom's friend offered me a ride, I didn't hesitate. Because he wasn't a stranger to them. And for me, that was enough. So I got in the car. At first, everything felt normal. But after a while, something started feeling off. We weren't going the right way. Now, I didn't know the city perfectly, but I knew enough to hear that quiet little voice in my head start speaking up. Something's wrong. And I remember hearing it. I also remember ignoring it because I didn't want to seem rude. I didn't want to question him. I didn't want to assume the worst. So I stayed quiet. And honestly, I've gone back to that moment more times than I can count. He pulled into an apartment building and said he just needed to stop quickly. Then he told me to come upstairs, and I went. That was the moment everything could have gone differently. I just didn't know it yet. We walked inside, and the second the door closed, everything changed. His energy changed. The way he looked at me changed. And before I could fully process what was happening, he tried to force himself on me. And in that moment, something in me just took over. No thinking, no second guessing, just survival. I fought back. I kicked him as hard as I could, and I ran. Out of the apartment, out of the building, into the cold. No money, no ride, nothing. Just trying to get away. And I did. I ran, and eventually I walked. From Jane and Wilson all the way toward Albion and Islington. In the winter. And I didn't stop. Because stopping meant everything would finally hit me. And I wasn't ready for that yet. So I just kept moving until I made it home. And for a long time, I convinced myself that was the end of it. I made it out. That's what mattered. But it wasn't really the end. Because what happened that day didn't just stay with me. It affected the people around me too. My friend's mom, the one who trusted him enough to let me get in that car. I remember the shift in her afterward. The hurt, the anger, the guilt she carried, even though none of it was her fault. Because this wasn't some random stranger anymore. This was someone she knew, a grown man, and I was a child. That kind of betrayal doesn't just disappear. It destroyed whatever relationship they had. And that's something people don't always talk about. Situations like this don't just affect one person. They ripple outward. And years later, over 10 years later, I found out he had done things like this before. That part stayed with me because it meant I wasn't the only one. But here's the part I want to be honest about. Even after all of that, even after what I felt, what I saw, what I went through, it still didn't fully change the way I moved through the world. Not yet. I wish I could say it did. I wish I could say I learned everything I needed to from that moment, but I didn't. There were other situations after this, other moments where I ignored that same voice, other lessons that came the hard way. And that's something we're going to talk about too, because survival isn't always one moment. Sometimes it's a pattern you have to learn to break. This story isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because not everyone who seems safe actually is safe. And that feeling you get, That quiet voice telling you something isn't right? Listen to it. Even if it feels small, even if you're unsure, because sometimes that's the only warning you get. That day, I didn't listen at first, but when it mattered most, I did, and I made it home. But the lesson? That took a lot longer to learn. That was survival too. And remember, if you have a story you'd like to share, you can always send it in. Names, details, and identities can be changed to keep everything completely anonymous. Because sometimes the stories people carry silently are the ones that need to be heard the most. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you can keep in touch for all future stories with episode 2, The Bends That Had Enough, releasing on May 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Real stories, real survival, real people.